Hi, how you doing? And welcome back to another video on the channel. What we have for you today is our wildcard video going into game week 27. Even if you're not wildcarding, hopefully it might give you some transfer tips and advice and maybe make you think of some different options and possibilities for your team moving forward. So if you are new to the channel, we are on the road to 60 subscribers, which would be pretty cool. So if you can help out with that, it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you for all the support on the channel so far. And let's get into it. So we're going to start with some absolute must have. So these are players that I really do think you should get into your team if you're wildcarding this game week, and if you're looking at maybe upgrading your team in each of the areas of your squad. I would suggest getting in these players in those positions. So we're going to start off with the goalkeeper, and we're going to start with Raya, and he's still only 4.8 million. And a large reason for that is because he's only 13.6% owned. So when we're looking at Raya's fixtures moving forward, he's got two doubles in the next few game weeks, and those are his fixtures for the next 6 game weeks in total. Immediately, that Everton and Southampton double up looks fantastic. And he also finishes quite strong in game weeks 31 and 32 with Wolves away and Villa at home. Potentially a little bit of a rough patch in the middle, but even someone like Newcastle, they're not necessarily scoring lots of goals. And if even if he's playing those better teams high up the table, he's surely due for some save points as well. In the defence, we're going to go with Dunk. Now, Brighton, whilst they have a blank, they do counter that with two doubles. Now, he is someone that maybe you're not going to have long term because he does have some tough fixtures from game week 30 onwards. But if you are looking at getting a defender in the short term, especially someone that's only 4.7 million, that you can rotate with other defenders in your squad to kind of capitalize on the blanket game week and those two double ups, I do think Dunk is pretty good. Still a super differential, only 5% owned. He's someone that I'm definitely looking at for this team. Into midfield, and we're going to go with Saka. Now, we've been banging on about Saka on this channel all season long. He not doesn't have any doubles necessarily, but he has got a fixture in every game week. A high percentage of ownership really sort of means that you're edging towards the sort of fear of missing out part of owning Saka or not. You might say that maybe Martinelli and Odegaard are better value, and it really depends on how you are spending your funds. You know, a lot of people this year are kind of finding it difficult to actually spend all their transfer budget. So if you do have a bit left over, I do think Saka is worth the extra price. Up front, we've gone with another Brentford player. We've gone with Ivan Toney. Now, there is certain question marks over his suspension off the field, and there is also question marks about whether he's going to end up with too many yellow cards on the field. I personally wouldn't worry about Ivan Toney getting too many yellow cards. I think you kind of just go with it until it actually happens, and then you react to that. You know, hopefully you've got enough on your bench to either cover it for 1 or 2 game weeks. That's kind of what your bench is for. And if you haven't, you can transfer him out. That's You get a free transfer every week. I do think that the fixtures for Brentford, like we discussed with Raya, are too good to ignore, especially with those two doubles in the next 3 game weeks. I think he's someone that everyone is going to have in their team. So on to the squad for this game week. If you're wildcarding, we're going to start in the defence. We've talked about Raya and Dunk, but I've also put in Zinchenko here as well. He's a bit more of a more premium Arsenal defender, but he is someone that does have that attacking potential as well. Has been known to get the odd goal, and he's definitely someone that can get an assist as well. Gone with Henry from Brentford, really just because I don't mind having that double Brentford defence. I think whilst they're not necessarily going to keep clean sheets every game week, I think especially in this immediate double with Everton and Southampton, both of which are struggling to score goals, I think it's something you can capitalise on. I would say anyone that's wildcarding probably will have a Brentford defender in, and a bit like Newcastle earlier in the season when everyone had Trippier, I think you can sort of take advantage of that by doubling up on a Brentford defence, and when they do get that clean sheet, that's how you're gaining on people in your leagues. Into the midfield we go, and we've gone with Matoma from Brighton. I do think you could potentially go with, even March or McAllister. And the opportunity for doubling up on a Brighton midfielder is also there. You do have to be aware of the blank game weeks coming up. I believe that this team kind of leaves us with 9 players on game week 28. Uh, Really, I do think that you can, it's not that big a deal, really, if you can't get a full 11 on a game week like that, when so many teams aren't playing. But you can also use a transfer for that game week as well to kind of minimize the hit. But sometimes I feel like these blanks and doubles, or really the blanks, too much emphasis is put on there. Um, and sort of decimating your team in the medium term to try and capitalize on the short term for someone that's not even got a double game week fixture. I don't really think it's worth it. I mean, you look at this game week just gone, Saka, Odegaard, Rashford all got 2 points. So even if you're getting these players in that you think are going to score, there's no guarantee, especially for mid-table teams, that they're going to, be worth that transfer that you're taking a hit on. And those 4 points, you're going to be expecting a single game week player to get more than 4 points, and then after that game week, you might not want them again. So it is something to be careful of and not put too much pressure on yourself to field 11 players just because they're playing. Uh, Also gone with Salah there. I think it's interesting to see how Salah's form is going to increase or improve as the season goes on. Liverpool are looking a little bit better, to say the least, especially after that Man United game. And I do think that they are someone that have that experience going into the end of the season on how to win games and deal with that pressure. And we've also gone with Rashford. Until the last game week, he is an absolute must-have, and I do think Southampton at home is a great fixture for Man United. Moving into the attack, and I've gone with Ivan Toney, like we discussed, but I am also going to captain him in this team. Haaland is Haaland, and I think you always need to have Haaland. He's just that highly owned, and he is someone that is still scoring, even if it's not quite at the exceptional rate that he did have earlier in the season. I've also gone with Ollie Watkins. Did get 4 goals in 4 games up until this last game week, and as he's someone that I think is pretty well priced, just around 7 million. But he is also someone that is potentially a differential as well. Moving on to the bench, and I've gone with Forster in goal. He was unlucky at the weekend, conceding to Wolves, was on for bonus points as well. And until Hugo Lloris comes back, he is someone that is really good value, and potentially someone that you might want to play in single game weeks when Raya doesn't have a double fixture. Castagna from Leicester City. Leicester's fixtures do actually look pretty good moving forward, and he is someone that is playing and does have that slight attacking threat down the right. He is also very cheap as well, around the 4.5 million price range. Doubled up on the Arsenal midfield here on the bench with Martinelli. It's completely up to you, sort of which part of Arsenal players you kind of go with and what positions. But I do think that Arsenal are a team that do have a nice run of fixtures for single game weeks, and in game week 28, you can get in and it covers you in that blank game week. And finally, we've gone with Trippier. He is someone that you still need to have in your team just because Newcastle, they're on a bit of a rough patch now, but he is highly owned, and Newcastle aren't going to be a bad team overnight. They might turn it round, so it is worth just having someone like Trippier on the bench, just that you can dip in when the fixtures get good, which you might think is Wolves at home. So you can rotate players like this when as and when you think you need to. That's kind of personal preference, but I do think this gives quite a good selection of players for this game week specifically and moving forwards. So if you are new to the channel, please do like and subscribe. Thank you for all the support. Let me know what you think about the team. Is there any players that I absolutely need to get in that I've missed? Or are there any players that I have put in that you think are not going to do very well? Always interested to hear people's thoughts. Thank you very much for listening, and I will see you in the next one.